What if I told you that two of the most powerful men in human history, separated by more than a century, made the exact same deadly mistake? A mistake that didn't just cost lives, it shattered empires. It consumed dreams. And it redrew the map of the world with blood. Napoleon Bonaparte. Emperor of the French. A military genius who rose from obscurity in Corsica to sit atop the throne of Europe. He humiliated kings, crushed coalitions, and became a living god in the eyes of millions. And then, there was Adolf Hitler. Führer of Nazi Germany. A failed artist turned dictator who spoke with fire, ruled with fear, and unleashed the deadliest war the world has ever seen. He reshaped borders, destroyed nations, and brought genocide to an industrial scale. Two men. Two empires. Two egos fed on conquest and crowned by myth. And yet, both committed the same unforgivable error. The same colossal misjudgment. The same march into madness. They invaded Russia. But this wasn't just another campaign. This wasn't chess on a battlefield. This was hubris wearing the uniform of ambition. And both would pay in snow, silence, and ruin. Before we go deeper, make sure to like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell, because what you're about to hear isn't just a history lesson. It's a flashing red warning. A mirror held up to power. And if you listen closely, you might hear echoes in today's headlines. In 1812, Napoleon was not just a man, he was a legend. He had brought down the mighty Austrian Empire, made Prussia grovel, and placed his siblings on European thrones like chess pieces. He didn't negotiate with kings, he replaced them. Britain was the last real holdout. An island nation fortified by its navy and bankrolled by its trade. Napoleon's solution? The continental system, an economic blockade to strangle Britain's lifeline. Every nation under his thumb was ordered to stop trading with the British. He called it strategy. But Russia saw it differently. Tsar Alexander I, under quiet pressure and with his own economic interests at heart, reopened trade with Britain. To Napoleon, this wasn't politics, this was betrayal. So, he did what all autocrats do when pride is wounded, he prepared for war. He assembled the Grande Armée, over 600,000 soldiers, drawn from across his empire. French, Polish, German, Italian, the most diverse, most powerful fighting force the world had ever seen. In June, they crossed the Niemen River into Russian territory. It was a scene of unmatched grandeur. Bands played. Standards flew. Napoleon believed this would be another swift victory. But Russia had other plans. There were no grand battles. No surrendering armies. The Russians retreated, slowly and deliberately, torching everything in their wake. Villages. Granaries. Entire cities. They left nothing for the enemy. The land itself turned hostile. This was scorched earth, and it worked. The Grande Armée advanced, but it began to unravel. Supply lines stretched. Horses died. Food ran out. Morale broke. Men marched through endless wilderness toward a ghost prize. And in September, they reached it. Moscow. But instead of a triumphant conquest, they found an abandoned, burning city. Some say the Russians torched it to deny Napoleon a prize. Others blame French looters. But either way, Moscow was ash and cinder. Napoleon waited for Tsar Alexander's surrender. It never came. Then, winter came early. Temperatures plunged to -30°C. The soldiers, dressed for summer, had no protection. Boots disintegrated. Frostbite took fingers, toes, and entire limbs. Soldiers froze in their sleep. Horses collapsed mid-step, their eyes iced shut. The once proud Grande Armée now became a staggering column of corpses. Russian cavalry and guerrillas harassed them constantly. Snipers picked them off. And worse, starvation and disease ran wild. Cannibalism. Whispered at first. Then undeniable. By the time they stumbled out of Russia's grasp, fewer than 100,000 survived. Of the original 600,000, over 80% were gone. Napoleon himself returned to Paris. Alive, but no longer invincible. His myth? Cracked. His empire? Teetering. Europe had seen a god bleed. But the lesson was not learned. Fast forward 129 years. Germany is back, under a new tyrant. A new ego. Adolf Hitler, Chancellor-turned-Führer, had whipped Germany into a frenzy of nationalism, vengeance, and racial ideology. In just a few years, he rearmed the nation, annexed Austria, swallowed Czechoslovakia, and sparked World War II by invading Poland. France fell in 6 weeks. Norway, Denmark, the Low Countries, all toppled in a blitzkrieg of tanks, planes, and propaganda. And then Hitler turned east. The Soviet Union. The ideological enemy. The racial enemy. The resource-rich behemoth he believed was soft, decadent, and ripe for conquest. He launched Operation Barbarossa, the largest land invasion in history. On June 22, 1941, over 3 million Axis troops stormed across a 1,800-mile front. Blitzkrieg in its deadliest form. The Soviets were caught unprepared. Stalin, in denial, refused to believe the reports of invasion. Thousands of planes were destroyed on the ground. Millions of Soviet soldiers were encircled and captured. Towns fell like dominoes. But then, the distances grew. The roads disintegrated. Soviet resistance hardened. And the weather turned. By autumn, the roads had turned to rivers of mud. Vehicles bogged down. Trucks sank. Men had to drag artillery with ropes. And then winter arrived. Once again, just like Napoleon, the invaders weren't ready. Hitler had refused to supply his troops with winter gear. Why? Because he believed the war would be over before the snow fell. German weapons jammed. Fuel froze. Soldiers wrapped themselves in rags, newspapers, curtains, anything they could find. Siberian troops, hardened by sub-zero combat, arrived to reinforce Moscow. Soviet resistance stiffened. Then came Stalingrad. If Napoleon's disaster was a slow collapse, Stalingrad was a blood-soaked avalanche. Urban warfare at its most savage. Fought block by block, floor by floor. Civilians, soldiers, even children, everyone was a combatant. Hitler refused to let his generals retreat. He ordered them to fight to the last man. And that's exactly what happened. By early 1943, the entire German Sixth Army, over 300,000 men, was annihilated. The Soviets surrounded them, starved them, shelled them, and captured what remained. It was the turning point of the war. The beginning of the end. Hitler would never fully recover. His Eastern Front became a bleeding wound, draining men, tanks, and morale. Just like Napoleon, Hitler had overreached. And Russia, vast, cold, and unbreakable, had devoured him. Now pause. Really pause. Do you feel it? That eerie déjà vu? 2 egomaniacs. 2 invasions. 2 winters. And one identical outcome, destruction. Why does history repeat itself? Because power intoxicates. It blinds. Napoleon ignored warnings from his advisors. He thought his genius would outsmart nature. Hitler believed ideology would overcome logistics. He dismissed all military counsel, convinced that Slavs were inferior and would crumble before German steel. But Russia is different. It is not just a country. It's a continent in disguise. Its geography swallows armies. Its climate punishes arrogance. And its people, shaped by centuries of hardship, resist with a ferocity few outsiders can fathom. And yet, we still haven't learned. Right now, the world is shifting. Old powers are flexing. New alliances are forming. Leaders, some elected, some enthroned, speak once again of short wars, of decisive strikes, of easy victories. Sound familiar? History whispers, and we scroll past it. Technology has changed. Drones, cyber attacks, yes. But human pride? That's still analog. Still stubborn. Still fatal. The belief in invincibility hasn't died. It's just rebranded. Napoleon thought climate couldn't touch him. Hitler thought ideology would carry the day. What about today's leaders? Are they listening? Or are they marching to the same frozen grave? Because here's the truth. Russia hasn't changed. The snow still falls. The land still stretches. The people still resist. And winter always comes. So what do we learn? That invading Russia is suicide? Yes. That climate can defeat armies where bullets can't? Definitely. But the deeper lesson? Beware of believing your own myth. Napoleon was told, wait. Reinforce. Don't chase Moscow. He ignored it. Hitler was told, hold the line. Don't attack in winter. Don't split your forces. He mocked them. And both paid in the currency of empires, blood, time, and ruin. History is not just a list of names and dates. It's a graveyard of egos. A warning label for power. And every time we forget that, the graveyard grows. Now here's your moment. Drop a comment below. Which of these invasions do you think was the bigger mistake? Napoleon's or Hitler's? Who lost more? Who paid the higher price? And most importantly, could it happen again? We'll pin the smartest take, maybe it'll be yours. And if you're still here, hit that like button. Subscribe. Share this with someone who thinks history doesn't matter. Because the next war of pride might already be brewing. And knowledge is your only armor. So stay alert. Stay sharp. And remember, winter doesn't forgive. It buries fools and reveals the truth.